Question 43 from the Book of Questions. When were you last in a fight? What caused it? And who won? A lot of people will use the word fight really to mean argument. And not even, I would suggest, a very serious argument. I think if a married couple had an argument so bad that it genuinely threatened their marriage, people wouldn't say, oh, so-and-so and so-and-so had a fight, because that actually doesn't make it sound serious enough. Yes, to call it a fight might mean there's a little bit of heat in the argument. But if so-and-so and so-and-so have had a fight, that just means they're feeling a bit pissed off with each other for a while, and give them a moment, and they'll sort themselves out. But if they were genuinely threatening their marriage because of the rancor in the argument, I think you would use some other term. They've had a serious falling out or something like that. But I'm not sure that that's really what this question's about. When were you last in a fight? I think this means a physical fight, an actual, fisticuffs. In which case, I could say Saturday, because I went to a HEMA event and we did 4 workshops. I did the first 2 in armour. They were longsword against armoured opponent. Then we did poleaxe. That was quite tiring. That was about 3 hours of mock fighting in armour. So I was pretty tired at the end of that. And then we did double sword and dagger. But in none of those fights was the person I was fighting against genuinely, seriously trying to injure me. They were cooperating in learning moves, trying stuff out, and in not injuring me. So none of those was really a fight. So what is a fight? How serious does a fight have to be before it becomes a fight? You could say that it's a fight to the death. In which case, I've never been in a fight. I don't think I've ever been in a fight where the other person was absolutely complete. I mean, they may have said it, but genuinely in earnest trying to kill me. When you are a schoolboy, you get into lots of fights where it's not to the death, and it's not even to the point at which the other person can't physically carry on. Schoolboys very seldom keep fighting until one of them is unconscious or has too many broken limbs to continue. It's normally about dominance. You fight until it's obvious to anyone watching that you have successfully dominated the other. And once you've got them to admit, okay, you win, and perhaps they go off crying or something, then you've won. Ha-ha. But so is that a real fight? There's a couple of schoolboys establishing which is physically dominant. Is that actually a fight? You might have a fight with a friend of yours in the playground. And yes, one of you wins, but you're still fine about it afterwards. So there are schoolboy fights and schoolboy fights. I can remember I was in Sweden once talking through the night in a bar with a rather nice Swedish lady, and we'd been talking a lot about differences between men and women and so forth, and the topic of fighting had come up, and I can't remember what I said, but it would have been something along the lines of that in a straight fight almost any man will beat almost any woman. And an Australian woman who'd been working in the cafe and had been mopping and just tidying up had obviously been eavesdropping quite a bit, and she decided that she was going to interject. And she said that, no, that was a load of rubbish. And that when she was a teenager, she'd had a load of fights with boys at school and had won. I was wanting to just get back to the conversation with the Swedish lady, so I dealt with that interjection as quickly and politely as I could, and then got back to the conversation that I wanted to have. But I could have said, really? Really? You had some fights, so how long did you spend in prison then? I take it that you're not admitting for the first time that you had these fights. She didn't have any fights. Really? What happens when a schoolboy fights a girl who puts up a bit of a resistance and fights back? Usually he will, okay, right, got a feisty one here, fair enough, love, if you want to take it a little bit further, and he'll back off maybe to save face. Maybe she was perhaps getting the better of him, but neither of those 2 kids, I'm sure, was actually going to fight until the other person was seriously injured and couldn't continue. Those weren't real fights. If they'd been real fights, what does a boy gain by beating up a girl? He doesn't gain honour, does he? You can't win a fight against a girl in that sense. So yeah, you just walk away. It seems from the way she told the story that she was pretty keen on getting into these fights and would even wait for them after school. So yeah, right. Okay, love. I'm saying okay, love. Doesn't that sound patronizing? But I really, of course it's possible, but it would be a staggeringly exceptional woman who can beat an average man. The average, if you had, if you got an averagely, not a strong man, an averagely strong man, just ordinary, averagely strong man, and you then picked 100 women the same age as that man, how many of the women would you expect to be stronger than the man? People usually pick a smallish number, 3, 5. They pick a small number. That's a typical answer to that. The answer is none. One woman in 1,000 is as strong as an average man. Plus, on top of that, men are more aggressive. They're much more, on average, experienced at fighting and skilled at fighting and interested in fighting, willing to fight. And you add all those things together. So the average woman does not stand much of a chance of a fight against a man. But she was convinced. And I can believe that she was genuine. I can believe that she actually thought she had some fights and that she'd actually won. I can believe that. I can believe that she had deluded herself into believing that. But I don't believe that they were actual fights. Bit of a sidetrack there. So, when was I last in a fight? Never been in a real fight. Mock fights, zillions of them. Competitive fights, I've been in competitive fights. I can remember in my university days, I was at a party and a huge shaving foam fight broke out. And at the end of this shaving foam fight, I did not have one fleck of foam on me, not one. I was completely unscathed, and some people were just covered head to foot. Now, admittedly, those covered head to foot had probably embraced the idea of being covered head to foot in shaving cream, and they'd piled into the middle where they got piled on by loads of people, and so they stood almost no chance of getting away with it. Whereas I stayed around the periphery where I was only ever having to fend off the attacks of 1 or 2 people at the time, and I was able to use Wing Chun sticking hands and was able to keep myself safe. So hurrah, victory. But that was a shaving foam fight at a party amongst friends. Not really a fight. What do people fight over? They fight over reputation. They fight over status. And slights to someone's reputation can be ruinous. Ultimately, of course, we have evolved to fight when our chances of passing on genes get affected. And if a man's reputation is hanging in the balance, his chance of passing on genes may be very, at least in ancestral conditions, very adversely affected. So, yeah, you threaten someone's reputation and they may feel that they have to fight. Of course, another reason to fight is that people will fight if they think that you're going to fight them, and so they may as well get in the first blow. Which, of course, can lead to horrendous misunderstandings. So can I really answer this question directly? When were you last in a fight? In a fight that was even moderately earnest and moderately competitive was a very long time ago. I'm going to say when I was 13, maybe. When I was 13, I had glandular fever and I was really slow and unfit. And there were boys at the school who knew this. And I remember a gang of them once deciding to just beat me up. And guess what? They did. It wasn't difficult. But I was one guy being attacked by, well, I don't know, there must have been 10 of them there, probably at any one time, 3 to 5 of them actually physically attacking me, but others were either egging them on or taking their turn. Did I win? Well, you know, I I think I had retained some dignity at the end of it. I didn't lose any of my stuff. I was able to hang on to my school bag, and I was able to leave with all my stuff and still intact, and I was fine to come into school the next day. So, call that a win?